frame from 300, Lena Headey in a cloak, with an icy gaze, and a voice capable of halting an army. Here it is, the myth forged in steel and sex appeal. But where in this image lies the truth? Because if we look into the ancient chronicles, Spartan women appear as voiceless shadows. Not a single letter, not one speech, not even a name written in their own hand has survived. Everything we know comes to us filtered through foreign eyes, Athenian men for whom Sparta was both nightmare and fetish. Herein lies the central enigma. Was the freedom granted to Spartan women, the right to own land, train physically, speak openly, a sign of enlightenment or merely a byproduct of a totalitarian machine? After all, to raise warriors, Sparta needed mothers capable of bearing and rearing new soldiers. Was this freedom or merely function? Now, we cross-examine our witnesses. Plutarch, writing 5 centuries after Sparta's golden age, admired Gorgo, the wife of King Leonidas, quoting her sharp wit with reverent romanticism. But Plutarch was a moralist, not a historian. Aristotle, a near contemporary of Sparta's decline, harshly accused the city of letting women rule, blaming this for its military decay. One saw a heroine, the other a threat. Whom should we believe? Archaeology adds new evidence: bronze statuettes of running girls, inscriptions on monuments honoring Kyniska, the first female Olympic victor. Yet even these proofs are filtered through a male lens. Was Spartan women's freedom genuine, or merely gilded chains in a system where even a woman's body belonged to the state? Consider the bronze figurines from the temple of Artemis Orthia. Girls in short chitons, frozen mid-stride, calves tensed, arms thrust forward. Archaeologists unearthed them by the dozens. But dawn to rush to admire this physical training was part of a state program. Sparta didn't train women for their own strength. It tempered their bodies as incubators for future warriors. Running, wrestling, discus throwing, all according to Xenophon, served one purpose: to bear strong children. Freedom, or a genetic factory disguised as emancipation? The catch is this: what we today call our female autonomy, in Sparta was strictly functional. Girls weren't taught to read, weren't involved in politics, and had no voice in the assembly. Their independence was confined to the home, household management, and the training grounds, all to fulfill a single goal: carry, birth, and raise a son capable of surviving the agoj. Even their famed blunt, unsentimental speech was a tool of control. A mother was expected to shame her son if he returned with his shield, but without honor. And now, the most shocking detail for Athenian moralists. Imagine ritual processions where girls marched nearly naked, hair loose, singing and dancing before men's eyes. Plutarch justified this as teaching modesty through habituation to the gaze. But to Athenians, this was unthinkable. From this came their scornful nickname for Spartan women, Phainomerides, thigh showers. Not a tribute to bodily freedom, but another act in the reproductive spectacle, the state displaying the health of its breeders. Behind the myth of strong women lay the cold logic of a totalitarian system. Sparta didn't liberate women, it repurposed them. Their bodies, voices, even their nudity were weapons turned inward to ensure the regime's survival. Was there any genuine respect for personhood? Or is everything we mistake for strength merely a reflection of male fear of extinction? Yet, If we set aside myths of nudity and athletics and examine land records, or what little remains, we encounter a different picture. Sparta wasn't just a military power. It was a society where women controlled nearly 2/5 of all agricultural wealth. How did this happen? It began with a reform by King Eurypon to prevent land fragmentation. Inheritance couldn't be divided among all sons. Instead, estates passed intact, and often to a daughter if she had no brothers. Given that men died in battle by the dozens or even hundreds, women frequently became owners of entire estates. Enter Kyniska, daughter of King Archidamus II of the Eurypontid dynasty. In 396 BCE, her chariot team won at the Olympic Games. Her monument at Olympia still bears the inscription, I, Kyniska, famous in Lacedaemon, erected this monument and declare myself the only woman in Hellas to have won an Olympic victory. It sounds like ancient feminism's triumph. But look closer. Chariot racing was the most expensive sport, requiring vast sums for horses, trainers, and crews. Kyniska didn't drive the chariot. That was forbidden. She merely owned the team. Her victory wasn't personal bravery, but a display of economic might. Was this sport or a status gesture by an aristocrat using the games as a podium? Another twist. In Athens, a woman couldn't even sign a contract. Her property was managed by a guardian, father, husband, or son. In Sparta, a widow could manage land, hire stewards, and choose her own spouse. Especially crucial when husbands were away for years or never returned. Women became not just keepers of the hearth, but de facto heads of clans. Plutarch admiringly notes some managed entire villages. Aristotle, however, fumed. Women in Sparta live in luxury and licentiousness, for most of the land belongs to them. One saw power, the other decay. But both agreed Spartan women held wealth, and wealth is power. Beneath rituals, running, and reproductive rhetoric lay a far more tangible form of influence. Not the body, but the purse. Not a voice in the agora, but a signature on a deed. Was this true emancipation, or merely economic necessity disguised as progress? Take the famous laconic sayings, those quoted in podcasts and hailed as the voice of an ancient feminist. With your shield, or on it, the phrase attributed to a Spartan mother sending her son to war. But who recorded it? Not a single one of these quotes comes from an eyewitness. All reached us via Plutarch, a Roman moralist writing 5 centuries later, collecting anecdotes like trophies for his parallel lives. His goal was to truth but moral exemplars. Have we mistaken pedagogical harshness for a cult of heroism? Indeed, the mother was Sparta's chief ideologue, not the priest or general, but the woman at the threshold whose gaze could shame more than any punishment. In a system where boys were taken from families at age 7, the mother became the final and most fearsome arbiter of honor. Her approval outweighed any medal, her shame worse than death. This wasn't love. It was institutionalized pressure, but did she ever ask for what? Or having lived her whole life within this machine, had she become part of it herself? Consider Gorgo, Leonidas' Thetis' wife, the only Spartan woman Herodotus claims the king listened to seriously as a girl under the 12. She warned her father against a Persian bribe. Leave before you ruin us all. Later, as queen, she deciphered a secret message hidden beneath wax on a tablet, thereby saving Greece from surprise attack. But how many such Gorgos truly existed? Or is she an exception, hollowed out by history into a symbol to prove even a woman can be wise if she serves the state? And so arises the darkest question: was this cruelty patriotism or a form of Stockholm syndrome? Women whose sons died in the Argog, whose husbands never returned from campaigns, whose daughters became widows by 20, they didn't rebel. They reinforced the very system that maimed them. Is that why Sparta endured so long? Not its army, but its mothers were its last line of defense. But who defended them? Aristotle didn't mince words. Sparta fell not to external enemies, but to internal rot. Its women. In his politics, they appear as greedy aristocrats, drowning in luxury, their estates flourishing, while the city bled in war. He accused them of hoarding land, displacing poor Spartiates, and reducing the warrior elite to paupers. But isn't it convenient to blame a collapse on those who couldn't answer back? Aristotle wrote in the 4th century BCE, when Sparta was already declining, and Athens, his native city, surged ahead. His analysis wasn't a neutral observation, but ideological warfare against a rival. Yet within his rage lies a kernel of truth. By the 3rd century BCE, the number of full Spartiates had dwindled to about 1,000, from a peak of 9,000 2 centuries earlier. Why? Oliganthropia, a demographic trap of Sparta's own making. Inheritance laws meant to strengthen the state became poison. Land concentrated in the hands of few women whose daughters married into an ever narrower male circle. Cousin marriages, shrinking families, rising childlessness. The system designed to produce warriors began to sterilize itself. But whose fault was this? Women who merely followed the law, or an elite that couldn't adapt? And crucially, on whose backs rested their luxurious lifestyle? The answer lies in the dust of Laconian fields. Behind every olive grove, pasture, and estate stood the helots, tens of thousands of slaves whose names history erased. A Spartan woman could train, manage estates, ride in chariots, because others tilled her land, cooked her food, raised her children. Her freedom was built on a system whose brutality surpassed even Athens. So was this gynocracy, female rule, the cause of Sparta's fall? Or did it, on the contrary, prolong Sparta's agony? As men died and warrior numbers shrank, landowning women became the economy's last pillar. Without their stewardship, Sparta would have collapsed far sooner. Aristotle saw them as a threat, but perhaps they were the final valve preventing total implosion. The real question isn't to whether women destroyed Sparta, but how much longer it would have lasted without them. By the 3rd century BCE, as Sparta choked on its own decline, women stepped onto the stage, not as ideologues, but as politicians. Queen Archidamia, widow of King Eudamidas, became central to reformer Agis IV's attempt to redistribute the land to impoverished Spartiates. Plutarch describes her personally addressing the assembly to defend her nephew's plans. A rare case of a woman not just present, but influential. But Plutarch, of course, embellishes. His aim is to dramatize the tragic reformer, not document female political agency. What do drier sources say? Polybius, closer to the events, is silent. Is that silence itself evidence? Even more striking is Aegeatis, daughter of Agis IV. After her father's execution, she became a symbol of resistance. When Cleomenes III revived reforms, Aegeatis, according to Plutarch, negotiated with Egypt's King Ptolemy for funds to save Sparta. A woman as diplomat in an era when even Athens deemed this unthinkable. But where's the proof? Archaeology is mute. No inscription bears her name, only the words of a Roman moralist for whom she is a dramatic device, not a historical actor. In 272 BCE, when Pyrrhus of Epirus besieged Sparta, women took up not spindles, but bricks. They reinforced walls, carried water, bandaged the wounded, and Plutarch claims demanded weapons. Give us arms. But were they given any, or is this a later metaphor for desperation? What matters is this: for the first time, women ceased being mere mothers of warriors. They became co-defenders of the city. Yet the price of activism was brutal. Academia was murdered in a palace coup. Agiatis was exiled. Their fates weren't triumphs, but warnings. In Sparta, you could own land, train, even advise kings. But to truly enter politics, that was too far. So where did the real boundary of their power lie? Between estate and agora? Let's gather the evidence. The Spartan woman was neither warrior nor feminist, nor even a strong woman in the modern sense. She was an asset manager, overseer of a reproductive machine, and in times of crisis, the state is last pillar. Her power lay not in the sword, but in the land register. But was this real authority, or influence confined within 4 estate walls and male council approval? Consider the numbers. 2/5 of Laconian land in female hands isn't a metaphor. It's economic reality, confirmed by cadastral fragments and Aristotle's furious tirades. Yet ownership deadened equal sovereignty. A woman could manage an estate, but couldn't vote in the appella. She could advise a king, but couldn't become a general. Her power existed only until it crossed an invisible line, the one beyond which real politics began. And yet, why are we still enchanted by this image? Because it's convenient. It offers the illusion that emancipation is possible even in the cruelest world. Modern feminism, rewatching 300, sees Gorgo as a symbol of resistance, but forgets her strength was a tool of a totalitarian system, not a challenge to it. We choose the legend because the truth is too grim. Spartan women's freedom was real, but conditional, like a loan secured by the lifelong collateral of their own child. Now, cold statistics versus glittering myth. By the Battle of Leuctra, fewer than 1,000 full citizens remained in Sparta. Women owned land, but couldn't halt demographic collapse. They managed estates, but couldn't save the state from decline. Their influence was immense, but only within a system that used them. So no, Spartan women didn't to rule Sparta, but without them, it would have fallen a century earlier. And perhaps that, neither in shields nor speeches, but in the stubborn, nameless labor of survival, was their true, unsung strength.